Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second episode of The Pitch. Today, we have our same co-hosts as last time. If you guys would like to introduce yourselves real quick.
Mitch Umler, Wyatt Douglas,
Jared Nyborn.
This one, we have a very special guest planned for you guys. This is our first celebrity of sorts to join us on The Pitch. It is more of a foreign episode. We have it's not an Allendale person. It's NBA player Michael Stewart. Wyatt, would you like to introduce him for us?
Yeah, he was a 6'10 center. He got drafted by Sacramento and then played for the Raptors.
All right. Yeah, so without further ado, let's get right into the interview and ask him some questions. Hello, everyone. I'm here with my lovely co-host today and also the NBA player that we have, Michael Stewart. So, Mr. Stewart, describe the journey you had to get into the NBA, and how much work would you say you had to put in order to make it there?
Well, it was a bit of a journey for me. So I went to Cal. I stayed all 4 years. I had a good college career, not great. I was shot blocker, rebounder, more like a role player. So when it came time for the draft in 1997, I did not get drafted. I had two workouts before the draft, one with the Golden State Warriors and one with the Sacramento Kings. Went and had great workouts. Neither team drafted me, but I got a call from the Sacramento Kings the day after the draft, and they said, hey, we loved your work ethic. Move back to Sacramento, which is where I'm from. You can work out with us this summer, and we'll see what happens. So we spent that entire summer in Sacramento, working out every day, twice a day. Be there pretty much every day from 8 to 5 o'clock. On-court workouts, weights, speed work, conditioning. So I worked out every day. When it got closer to summer league, they said, hey, we loved the way you've been working out. Come join our summer league team. So got on the summer league team. I played great. After summer league, they said, hey, you had a great summer league. We want to invite you to our veterans camp.
Oh, wow.
I said, hey, what does that mean? And they said, well, we'll give you a non-guaranteed contract, and we'll see what happens. And I said, hey, that's great, but I don't have any money. I need to go somewhere and make some money. So I said, thanks, but no thanks. I went to Italy and started practicing with an Italian team. They gave me $110,000 guaranteed. But 2 weeks into my stay in Italy, I got a call from my agent, and they said, hey, the Sacramento Kings are refusing to release you from your summer league contract, which means I had two contracts, one with the Italian team and one with the Sacramento Kings. Normally, they release you from your contract as soon as summer league is over. So I had two contracts, and FIBA basketball said, you have two contracts, you can't play for anybody until one of them is resolved. So spoke to my agent, and he said, look, if the Kings are doing all this to try to keep you, that means they have some legitimate interest. So he got another player to take over my Italian contract. I moved back to Sacramento, went to their vet camp. I made the team, and 20 games later, I was the starting center.
That's awesome. That's a good experience. Wow. That's a good route to take. Wow.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy, but it ended up working out. It was the best thing to do.
And with that work ethic, going back to high school, what made you choose the University of Cal?
Well, a couple reasons. First, I'm from Sacramento. Cal is about an hour and 15 minutes from my house. So we used to drive down there and watch basketball games on the weekend. They give us tickets and we go watch them play. So, but the two biggest factors were, Cal is one of the top public schools in the country. Great education. And the second reason was Jason Kidd was my point guard.
Oh, really? And that's cool.
You know, we used to watch Jay play in high school. We'd also drive down to the Bay to watch Jason play. He was the best point guard in the country in high school, and we'd go watch him play. So, you know, getting an opportunity to play with Jason was pretty high on my list. Unfortunately, he left after 1 year.
Yeah. What happens nowadays?
Yeah, drafted so
Got to
quick.
play with him for 1 year, but that 1 year was great. I have no complaints. But yeah, no, I my friends and I growing up, all we did was play basketball, and we just loved to play. And it was more, back then there really was no kids that were coming out of high school going to the NBA or that kind of stuff. It just back then it didn't exist. It was more being in the NBA for us was more pie in the sky. I had no inkling back then that I would ever have an opportunity to be an NBA player. My goal was to be a college player. So we just played every day. I mean, we loved to play, and going down and watching games and all that kind of stuff was just an extension of that. I mean, we always wanted to be around basketball, and so those are the things that we did.
So, what was it like becoming the Bears' all-time leading shot blocker? Or are there any other accolades you'd like to talk about, or?
Yeah. So as a player, for me, I think at some point everybody has to. What's the best way to say it? Everybody has to. Well, I'll put it like this: I wasn't the best offensive player. And most of that was because I always felt like if I could rebound and block shots, then there would always be a place on the court for me. There's only one basketball. I wasn't the best scorer, so in my head, I've always said, hey, if I'm not the best scorer, there's only one ball, 2 or 3 guys on the team do it better than me, I'm going to be sitting on the bench. But if I can rebound and block shots, play defense, I'll always have a place on the court.
Oh, yeah.
So I became really good at doing that. And, and then subsequently as an NBA player, that's really what it's all about is, NBA guys are always really good at 1 or 2 things. So that ended up helping me. But at Cal, I mastered my role. I mean, I was a shot blocker. So that's what I did.
An effort player, right?
Exactly.
Defense is,
Defensive side.
I understand in the NBA you had a game that was like 9 blocks, right? I mean, that's just pure effort, right? I mean, obviously you're 6'10", but it's
Well, there's a lot of 16 guys that don't
that's true. When you get to that level, that's not even that tall anymore. But
All right, and then
I mean, it was just something I always loved to do. I was good at it, so when you're good at something, you want to do it more. So that's just what I did. That was what I was good at.
And then, can you describe your emotions in the 1997 NBA draft, going undrafted? But then, did you ever lose hope, or did that make you want to feel like you wanted to make a team even more?
No, well, again, I mean, I had 2 workouts. I knew I wasn't going to get drafted. I mean, based on my workouts, I thought, maybe in the second round. I had a great workout, so I was thinking maybe in the second round, somebody will take a chance. But that's just kind of, it's like walking down the street and finding $20. Like every day, you wish you could find $20, but most of the time, you don't. That's kind of how it was. There's a chance, but it's probably not going to happen. And I knew that. So, my goal was to go overseas. I thought if I could go overseas, get better, develop offensively, then I could come back in a couple of years and then, give the NBA a shot. I really didn't think that I had a chance that year at all. And that's where my mind was. So it kind of, everything that happened was really, kind of right place, right time. I mean, Sacramento is where I'm from. The coaching staff there really liked me. The front office took a liking to me. They put a lot of time in with me that summer. I gave a great effort, so they gave me a chance. And in the NBA, when you're in my situation, that's really all you can hope for is somebody giving you a chance. I could have gone somewhere that could have cut me. Most teams would have probably cut me, but the Kings gave me a chance, and I took advantage of it.
Yeah, and then like going undrafted, what were the emotions like in that day that you signed your first like NBA contract?
Well, when you're in my situation, you sign a non-guaranteed deal.
Mm-hmm.
So back then, the league minimum was $242,000. So I signed a 1-year, $242,000 non-guaranteed deal, which means they can cut you in any given day until contracts become fully guaranteed in February.
Mm-hmm.
So from really October until February, it's like an extended tryout. Okay? So every day that I came in, I felt the exact same as I did before the draft. Like it was just a series of one-day opportunities. So it actually made me, come in and be hungry and fight and hustle and, play my hardest every day. Now obviously, like that year, I ended up playing pretty good. So, some of that fear went away. But, the work ethic remained the same.
Yeah, that contract was certainly earned. The 6.6 rebounds, 2.4 blocks a game. That's some Dennis Rodman type stuff. So, the effort play really paid off, huh?
Yeah, 17 minutes a game. I mean, it was, I think I was like third or fourth in the league in blocks, and I was playing just under 2 quarters a game.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and we saw that you got traded to the Raptors after your rookie season, and I was wondering what it was like to play alongside legends and now Hall of Famers Vince Carter, Muggsy Bogues, and Tracy McGrady.
Well, I didn't get traded. So after my first year, I was a free agent. And, not sure how much you guys follow basketball, but, after that year, the Sacramento Kings took a major jump up. So that summer, they brought Peja Stojakovic over from Greece.
Oh, yeah.
They traded Mitch Richmond for Chris Webber.
Oh, yeah.
They drafted Jason Williams. And they used every dollar of their free agent money to sign Vlade Divac.
Okay.
So they didn't have any money left. And, so they offered me another minimum deal, which, at that point, I would have considered taking it, but, I just had the best year of my life, and there was, 15 teams that were offering me more than that. So,
Right.
So I ended up signing with Toronto. That was a lockout year. So I didn't end up going to Toronto until like December. So we played a lockout shortened season that year. So I signed a 1-year deal with Toronto. And then the year after that, I signed a 6-year deal. But when I was there, they drafted Vince Carter that year. Tracy McGrady was in his second season. And then they made a series of moves to support Vince and Tracy. And that included signing Dale Curry, who's now more famous as a dad than as a dad.
Yeah, right.
They signed Muggsy Bogues. They signed Kevin Willis. They traded Marcus Camby for Charles Oakley. They were trying to put a good veteran core around some young superstars. And, obviously Vince Carter ended up being way better than anybody thought he was going to be. So actually that first year, Tracy McGrady came off the bench, and, Doug Christie was the starting 2 guard. But it was exciting, man. It was a new country. We had, some young superstars who pretty quickly took over the league. So being on the team was great, but the downside of that, because they did go out and get Oakley and Willis and, some established big guys, I didn't play as much. You know, so it was a little bittersweet.
Right. And then these next two questions, these are the final questions. They're a little bit of the basketball community's, like dissents and the like opinions. So the first one is there's a disagreement in the basketball community, in which era had the toughest competition. And I think that being a basketball player, you're more than qualified to talk on this. Do you think the Jordan era was the more like tougher competition, or the current NBA?
Oh. I don't even think it's close. I mean, and I don't see how anybody could really argue with that. I mean, so the answer to the question is the Jordan era.
Okay. I agree.
And it's not even, to me, it's not even up for discussion. and it's not only because, I thought, okay, put it like this. Every era has talented players.
Right.
Okay, so it's not, the discussion to me is not, which players are better. Because if you put, LeBron James in the league 30 years ago, he'd still be good. He'd still be great. I think the difference is the changes they made to the rules, which affected lots of different things. So, maybe in 2000 or 2001, they took away hand checking, and they made a series of decisions that were designed to open up the game. They wanted more scoring, and they wanted to make it harder to play defense. So, today you have, teams that score 130 points in a game, right? Which 20 years ago just wouldn't have happened. I mean, the games against the Knicks, teams were scoring 75 points. It was just a tougher, more hard-nosed, aggressive, restrictive style of play. I mean, it was tough, and you had to be a tough guy in order to be successful. I mean, it's different now. It's more open. You got 7-footers, shooting threes, and average more 3-point attempts than rebounds. I mean, it's just a different style of play, and it has nothing to do with the quality of the player. People adjust, but back then it was just harder. It was tougher.
So you've played with and against LeBron James and against Michael Jordan, of course. So you tell us and settle the debate and who's better and who's the GOAT.
Who is the greatest of all time? Wait.
Well, the answer to that question too is Michael Jordan.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's a little, kind of for a different reason than most people. I mean, I just think first, he came up during a tougher era. He played 82 games every year. He never got hurt. Never lost in NBA Finals. He was first team all defense every year. He led the league in scoring every year. He had 6 championships. Would have had 8 if he didn't take those 2 years off for baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Maybe 9 because the year he came back, they lost to the Magic, but they swept in the next season. So maybe they win that year as well. But 8 for sure. I don't think anybody argues that.
There are people that argue it. They're dumb. They're so dumb. Michael Jordan is so clearly the better player.
Well, if you just look at it, all the great players during the Michael Jordan era, none of them have championships except for Hakeem Olajuwon. Okay, they won 2 in a row the year Mike didn't play. Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley, David Robinson ended up getting some later in his career when Mike left and went to Washington, and Tim Duncan came in. But Stockton, Malone, none of those guys have championships because of Michael Jordan. And I think Hakeem would be in that same discussion if Mike would have played. So, it's for argument, but I think most people would think that Mike would have won those 2 years as well. They just won 3 in a row. I don't. To me, it's hard to argue.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing, is just it's the set of circumstances that Michael Jordan came into the league around. There was no shoe deals. There was no internet. There was no, there was no so many different things, right, that are around today that kind of helped make LeBron James, and some of that has nothing to do with basketball. Michael Jordan was the biggest star in the world, and you couldn't Google his name. He had no fan interaction. He didn't have an Instagram page. And he was the best player and the biggest star in any sport. And those set of circumstances will never exist again. And aside from being the best player, it's just the conditions that existed will make it so that there may be somebody as talented as Michael, but there'll never be another Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. All right. Well, that's all we have time for. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Stewart. We appreciate your presence here on the pitch, and thank you for making the time for us.
No problem, guys. Appreciate you.
Thanks so much. Thank you for joining us on this episode of The Pitch. I hope you guys enjoyed.
Make sure to tune in to the next episode of The Pitch.
And make sure you follow our AHS Falcon Nation Twitter.
This has been Wyatt, Mitchell,
Owen,
Jared.
and we will see you guys in the next one.